Sam, would you please stop asking my husband to withdraw such a large amount of money?
Good evening, Kumi. I'm sorry. What are you talking about? Large amount of money?
It's really no use pretending you don't know. I already know what you've been up to these days. You and your mother are taking way too much advantage of my husband. Well, I guess that my husband felt obligated to comply to your request as well, so I guess it can't be helped this time. But from now on, please refrain from doing that ever again.
Well, I still have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't think it's something that I have to explain to you, word for word. Just put a hand on your heart and take your time to think over what you've done. Think very carefully about living your life by sucking money out of my husband. Consider the shameful way of living in that way. Excuse me then.
Josh, I just arrived. Oh, hi, brother. I'm glad you and Mom got back into the country safely. You're coming back the day after, right? That's right. The medical conference in Germany will finish tomorrow, so I'll head home when that's over. But to think that you let us accompany you for your medical conference so that we could enjoy sightseeing. When I first heard about it, I was so surprised. We had promised to take a trip together, but I didn't imagine us making an overseas travel. I wasn't able to fulfill our promise since I've been busy, so I thought this would be a good opportunity to do that. I couldn't spend as much as I would have liked, though, with you and Mom since I had to work. But there was a travel guide who spoke Japanese, right? Did things work out okay? Oh, that was so helpful. Both Mom and I couldn't speak German at all. Although it was the first time going overseas, I didn't feel so anxious and really enjoyed the time there. Thanks to you. I'm glad to hear that. Oh, I just remembered. When you are back in the country, could we get together? Yeah, of course. Is something up? There's something I want to talk about. About Kumi. About Kumi? Oh, is it something you mentioned earlier? Yeah, recently things have been getting worse. It also seems like she's been troubling you as well. Also, the matter I had asked someone to look into, that's been confirmed as well. I see. I'm sorry to trouble you when you must be tired from the trip. No worries. Then I should get prepared for the conferences tomorrow, so I'll message you again later. Alright, thanks so much for the trip.
Sam, aren't you and your mother really not embarrassed at all to be leading parasitic lives on your younger brother's money? Why don't you at least use your own money for the trip to Germany?
What? Oh, it's been a long time, Kumi. What do you mean by leading parasitical lives?
Do I have to explain everything to you? I know that Josh is a doctor and has a pretty good sum of money, but aren't you ashamed that you're using your brother's money to go overseas? Especially now that your brother has his own family? Don't you have any pride as his older brother? Or so he says.
Is that what you were referring to the other day?
Did you realize that just now? I am so shocked.
Well, as we had no intention of asking for his money.
But my husband paid for everything this time, didn't he?
That is true. But that was a promise we had made between Josh and I since a long time ago.
Oh my god, that is just unbelievable. You're telling me that you planned to get money out of him even before your brother was a doctor? I know that he already showed much promise for his career, but isn't that a bit too much?
No, that's not quite right.
Then what is it?
It's a little difficult for me to explain. When our father passed away, I was a senior in high school, and Josh was still in junior high. Because of our circumstances, I didn't go to college and started working right away after I graduated from high school. At that point, Josh already had a dream of becoming a doctor, so my mother and I decided that we would support him as much as we could.
Oh, so what you're saying is, because you supported him back then, you want him to help you out now that he's become a doctor. Basically, you want him to pay you back now. That's the promise you made, right?
No, that isn't how it is. I usually make sure that Josh doesn't spend his money for us. As for the trip to Germany the other day, it is true that Josh paid for our trip, But this is something that Josh had been saying he wanted to when he was able to graduate from medical school. And he did graduate. So that's how the trip finally happened. So this time, it was something special for all of us.
Well, however you frame it, it still doesn't change the fact that you let Josh pay for all your travel expenses. And also when you rebuild your house into an apartment.
What? That has nothing to do with Josh.
Really, these are the instances when one can see how stingy poor people can be. Please refrain from coercing Josh to give you money from now on. Never, ever again. Actually, never contact him again.
What? That is a bit too much.
Josh is my husband. I am the only one who can spend his money freely because I am his wife. If something like this ever happens again, I will not forgive you.
Kumi, I am getting a divorce.
What?
I'm getting a divorce from you.
Josh, what are you saying? Is this something to say over a message? What is going on here? I have no idea why you're saying such a thing.
And will you still not understand if I tell you that I am with my brother now?
What? With Sam? You told me it was your day off and you turned down my suggestion that we go out together.
That was so that I could see my brother.
Can it be that your brother is asking for your money again?
What?
This is enough. I warned him never to take money from you ever again. To think that he would have the nerve to meet up with you to ask for more money? Josh, don't you think you've had enough with a brother who is so poor and miserable?
What are you talking about?
There is also that matter regarding the trip you took with your brother and your mother to Germany. Also, a few months ago, they rebuilt their house into an apartment building, remember? Then they moved into one of the rooms in their apartment building and your brother became the owner and your mother is living with him, right?
Oh, that's right. What about it, though?
What do you mean, what about it, though? Your brother ordered you to pay for that money to rebuild that house into an apartment building, didn't he?
What?
Listen, I would understand if you became the owner of that apartment building since you gave out the money for it and you let your brother and your mother live there. That would be fine. But the owner of that building is your brother. That means that the income from the apartment rent goes straight into your brother's pocket. That is absolutely nuts.
Kumi, what are you talking about? The money spent on rebuilding that house into an apartment building was paid out by my brother.
What?
I gave them just $500 as a gift. How on earth did you arrive at such a misunderstanding?
What? Well, since your father died, your mother only worked part-time and is now living on her pension. As for your brother, he quit his company a few years ago and he's living off your mother's pension, right? How could those two possibly pay for rebuilding a house? The only relative who could provide them the money would be you, since you earn enough money as a doctor.
My brother is making as much money as I am now. While he was working at his company, he had a side job. Now that he can earn a good-sized income from that side job, he decided to quit his company and concentrate on his side job. Which means that he can work from home. You also have someone you know who works from home, right? Even though you knew someone who works from home, you automatically assumed that since my brother is spending most of his time at home, that he doesn't have a job. What you say is unacceptable. How absolutely thoughtless of you.
But your brother only graduated from high school, right? And the company he worked for was a very small-sized firm, no? How could someone like that manage to earn enough money as someone who works from home?
If there is something you're really good at doing and you can make it into a business, it's possible, depending on how hard you work for it. It would depend on the type of job, of course. Maybe one needs to get a license or special training. As for my brother, he worked hard for it and made it work.
Then why didn't you tell me all of this before? You didn't tell me anything about the apartment building. You can't blame me for misunderstanding.
Listen, as for the plan to rebuild our house into an apartment building, that started way before we even started dating. As for the kind of work my brother is doing, I did mention it to you before.
What?
As for the trip to Germany the other day, I wanted to pay my brother and mother back for all the support they gave me when I was pursuing my dream of becoming a doctor. It's something that I offered them.
Well, support. Still, just because they helped you out a little bit over living expenses, paying for all the expenses for an overseas trip is too much.
My brother paid for 2/3 of my high school and medical school tuition,
What?
and 1/3 was from the insurance my father had for our education fee. But then my father died suddenly. My brother supported my mother, who was completely distraught. On top of that, he looked after me since I was a junior high school student at the time. And my brother was only 18 years old at the time. Just imagine what pressure he had at that time. To be honest, I don't think that taking him and mom for an overseas trip is not enough at all.
What? Are you still planning to give them money?
That is why I'm getting a divorce from you.
What?
You don't like it that I want to pay back my brother and my mother, right? But this is not so much that we have to lower our way of living.
What? But the trip to Germany? It's an overseas trip, so it's not just a matter of 500 or 1,000, right?
For that, I used the money that I had been saving up when I was still single. This is not something I should be blamed for at all.
But
What is it with you, Cooney?
what? Me?
Do you think that I didn't notice anything?
What are you talking about?
The credit card that I gave you so that you can spend for our living expenses. You've used it to its maximum. Do you think I will continue to allow you to misuse the credit card like that?
But you told me you would let me be in charge of the household expenses.
I did tell you that I would ask you to handle our household expenses, but that did not mean that you could use the money freely. Let me tell you more. You think that I would tolerate you using the amount equal to my monthly income on your lover? Think again.
What?
Did you really think that I wouldn't notice anything? I can also see the credit card purchase history, you know. Things look fishy, so I looked into it.
You were looking at the bill?
That is the so-called family credit card, so it's natural that I can also see the bill. To begin with, that money is withdrawn from my bank account. So if I didn't notice anything, that would be really funny, wouldn't it?
Oh, God.
Anyway, I hired a detective to find out if you really had a lover. I now have proof of it, so you can't deny it. I also can't forgive you for all the insults you said regarding my brother and mom. I'm divorcing you.
Wait,
What for?
what?
If you were telling me to wait on the divorce, I can't oblige.
Maybe we can talk over this.
As for that, we can do that through my lawyer.
A lawyer?
The contract for the apartment we are living in now is scheduled to be renewed in 2 months. So I decided not to renew it this time.
What?
I still have some things left in the apartment, so I will go back once. After I pack everything, I will be gone for good. I want you to get yourself out of the apartment as soon as possible.
What? Wait.
What do you mean, wait?
What? Well, that is...
If it has no meaning, it's just annoying.
Josh,
Please talk to my lawyer. Goodbye. A few hours after we exchanged messages, I headed over to my younger brother's place to move his things out. My brother's wife, Kumi, was not there. Well, it was good timing. I managed to get all of my brother's things out in that short amount of time. As for Kumi, it seems like she ran to her lover's place for help, and my brother has confirmed that fact. Her things have been sent, cash on delivery, and the lawyer also paid her a visit. A month later, everything was settled and the divorce was finalized. As for Kumi and her lover, they had to pay for the consolation money plus all the money they had spent together. It was a one-time payment. The amount came to $70,000. They had to take out a loan, but they couldn't ask for help from the relatives, so they got themselves into a fix. Now, they are living days of regret and hard work.